And now for the moment, a lot of you have been, well, not a lot of you, a few of you have been very fervently waiting for. The reveal of the finished workbench. If you caught part 1 and part 2 of this build, you'll kind of see all the details of how this thing went together. In this video, I'm going to kind of go through how it all came together in the end, and some of my favorite features about the bench. If you aren't currently a subscriber to the channel, now would be a good time to hit that subscribe button. I'm going to be doing a lot more shop projects. In fact, I'm working on one right now, and I'll be releasing more videos like this throughout the rest of the year. I planned to have this video done a lot sooner, but I just didn't. This has been a weird year, and we're all kind of getting through this in the best ways that we can, so I guess bear with me. I mean, the video itself, the workbench itself, was meant to be done like a year ago, but it's my workbench, and now it's done. So enjoy the tour of it, and let me know in the comments if you have any questions or anything else you want me to show in any follow-up videos. You may have caught part 1 and 2 of this video building this workbench, but I haven't had a proper workbench since my old shop. And even in my old shop, I just had like a 2x4 workbench. So I wanted to build something, kind of put my own stamp on it. I know it's a Roubo, but it's my own thing at least, right? So one of the first things that kind of sets this one apart is how I flattened the top. So to get a flat work surface, I think kind of cool, but maybe sacrilegiously, I actually used epoxy as sort of a self-leveling agent. So what I did is I fully leveled to an inch of its life both edges of the workbench, made sure they were in the same plane, and then I carefully calculated the amount of volume of epoxy I would add by weighing it, and added that to each side so that they would get to the correct level. After they were through, I had a nice level top, but I did have some little, what do they call those, meniscus on the edge where it kind of crept up the edge of the tape that was defining the edge. So I did have to sand them and then go through a phase of polishing. I probably won't keep them all glossy like this forever, but it's nice to have as like a showpiece to start out with. The next thing I really like about this workbench are the vices. These are actually just simple Rockler quick release vices, but I used some of the oak that I had laying around my shop to make the jaws out of them, so they're nice, sturdy white oak jaws. I probably at some point I'm gonna add a leg vise as well, and a couple more dog holes on the legs, depending on what kind of work I need. But this should make my work holding a lot safer. On the top of the bench, I also added some dogs. That way I could use the end vise with some longer stock to plane or just sand material. I just wanted a more comfortable work holding solution for the top of the bench. They fit really snugly. These are again the bench dogs, but they work really well. I know this is supposed to be a joiner's bench, but I use my workbench for practically everything. So I did have a little sort of sanding station. This is temporary, I can always remove it. It's just a little screw to remove this off the edge of the bench. But it's a nice place that I can just lay out my sanding mat, put a couple pieces on here, and quickly kind of just zone out and get to work on stuff. I've got the vacuum right beneath here, and I've got this really nice Mirka 6-inch sander, 5-inch sander, that I really like for literally everything. It's got great dust collection, it's quiet, no vibrations. If you do a lot of sanding, definitely worth the investment. Since this bench weighs, I don't know, probably 500 pounds, I also have it on 4 of these flip-up casters, and each foot is on a heavy-duty 1,000-pound leveling foot. I don't think, it doesn't twist at all, at least not that I can tell, which should be fine for woodworking. But if I ever have a critical task, like an epoxy pour or something like that, where I need to have a surface that's perfectly level, the leveling feet go in and out of the legs like 3 inches. I'll link to those on Amazon down in the description if you want to pick some of those up for yourself. But of course, again, the the flip-up casters are again an item from Rockler. One of the things I guess I'm kind of proud of is that I kind of rolled with the punches here. When I actually bought all the material for this, I bought 2, I think they were like 12-foot beams that I made these out of. They were 6x6, you know, rough sawn, so they were huge. And the guy at the lumber yard swore to me up and down they were white oak. When I ended up milling them up, they actually ended up being red oak, which is my least favorite material. I really wanted a white oak bench, but I decided, you know what, screw it. I've got red oak, so might as well burn it. So I took the whole bottom, the whole frame of the workbench and actually show Sugibond to the whole thing, and also put some gold inlay, which is now kind of less obvious, but hey, I know it's there. Underneath here, I do plan on eventually building a nice set of cabinets, maybe putting a cooler down here. I'm not really sure. I'm gonna kind of feel out the bench and build a couple projects with it and see what really inspires me down here. Right now, I like having this vacuum here, but I'm pretty sure I could use it outside of the carcass of the bench and still get just as much use out of it. I have really enjoyed, though, having my sharpening setup right here under the bench. It is nice to just, whenever you're feeling the urge or your chisel's a little bit dull and you're doing some dovetails here at the vise, you can just reach under there, throw a new edge on your chisel, and get right back to work. My original plan for the workbench top was to use this massive slab of actual beautiful white oak as the top. It was about 3 inches rough, but as I kind of worked through it and found some of the imperfections in it, it's gonna yield a lot of nice lumber, but it's really not thick enough for the workbench top that I wanted. It's so twisted and knotty and all kinds of weirdness. I'd probably only get like a 2 3/4 inch top out of this, and I really wanted 3.5 inch plus. So instead we ended up with this monstrosity. This is actually 4 3/4 inch sheets of plywood with a 1/2 inch sheet sandwiched in between, which gives me, you guessed it, 3.5 inches. I was then able to pour the thin epoxy layer on top. It's only about 1/8 of an inch, just enough where I could do a couple of sandings before I have to re-pour it, and I was good to go. Another nice thing about the plywood is that it's gonna come planed and smooth, so all I really had to do was rip it to the proper width. Laminate the sheets together, and I was able to get a nice, consistent, strong workbench top. I plan on doing a lot more with this workbench as I get to know it a little better. For things around the shop, I like them to kind of start out in a good state, but then I'm not opposed to sort of learning what they want to be as I go through them and live with them for a little while. So I'm going to live with it like this for a little bit and to kind of figure out what I need for these cabinets, figure out where I feel like placing it within the shop. And since it's on wheels, I can kind of move it into spots. It doesn't get to take up the parking spot that I'm standing in right now, but I can find a nice spot for it. I really like this bench for design. It's very simple Roubo, very simple layout. It's just got a couple of sort of personalized touches in the way that it all went together. Thanks for watching this, and please check out the previous 2 videos, part 1 and 2 of this build if you want to see more details about how this workbench went together. I'm glad I could share this with you. I'll link to all the items from Rockler and any other little pieces and doodads that I used in making this thing down in the description below. I appreciate you tuning in. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out some more videos and drop likes and subscribes and all the YouTube things. Thanks for joining me today, and remember, keep your tools sharp, keep your mind sharper.